question.
That's my prerogative. Go ahead, next question.
Y'all voted it back in, and what did you get out of it?
You're feeling better.
I'm feeling a lot better, Kimberly. Mrs. Brown, I'm feeling a lot better.
Next
Stage
question.
4 kidney failure, you got medical transplant.
Go ahead.
It was at a special meeting at Paul Brown's house on the.
That's not true.
Yes, it was.
It's not true. Please do not sit there and lie. It's not true. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true.
Say what? No.
Comment.
Say it again, Patricia.
Patricia.
Her husband handled business standing.
This is public comment.
You thought I wasn't going to stop for you?
Mike Mayor. Go ahead.
Go ahead with that.
That's right.
Go ahead, Kimberly. Go ahead.
Patricia, you have special meetings every day. Every last one of y'all. So y'all can't say nothing about no special.
Mayor. Go ahead, next question.
You talking to the right one now. All right? I don't want to
Patricia.
Oh, you can try to double team me all you want to. All you want to. I don't care.
Go ahead, next question.
About these people, man. Go ahead.
Real issues. Go ahead.
That's the problem now.
Show enough. That's the problem.
Go ahead.
Y'all always want to butt in something. Let us handle our business. All right. Please.
Read facts, then you can handle that.
Well, don't worry, because you got a lawsuit coming to you.
Come on, baby.
Go ahead.
I know how
It's coming. It's coming. That little burner truck you drive, it's going to be mine. It's going to be mine.
Yo, Mayor. Patricia.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Brown.
Go ahead, Mrs. Brown.
Go right ahead.
Patricia.
Paul.
Stop it. Go ahead.
Hello, you've been a mayor for a year. Please tell me, what have you done?
That's not on the agenda.
That's not on the agenda. It's these agenda items.
You
On
can't-
agenda items.
On agenda items. That's the
You can
state
ask
borough.
that question at the
I'm talking
end.
to the mayor, and I'm asking him, what has he done?
The public comments on agenda items at the beginning of the meeting.
No, the state of Pennsylvania does, Martha.
All y'all want to do is criticize somebody. That's all you want to
Matters
do.
that are before the
That's all you want to do.
board.
You see these
Comprehend it.
cops in the back of you.
Comprehend it.
It's been a big change in the police force. That's what I did.
Stop.
You say, what did you do? Please tell me, what did you do?
Not on the agenda. Don't
Go ahead, Paul.
Go ahead. Come on.
Another question.
Your 5 minutes
That's it.
is up.
It has
Sit
to
down,
be
please.
on the agenda.
5 minutes.
Read this.
You don't have that right.
Are you closing
You
public
don't have that
comment?
right.
It's got to be on the agenda.
Go ahead, Mr. Brown, give him
You can ask any more questions?
On the agenda.
Ma'am,
All right, now
McLean,
you-
you stop there listening to Paula. How about you be a real solicitor and let me ask the mayor a question?
Well,
If Paul can be
I-
over there and telling the president what he should say, I should have a right to ask the mayor,
I
what has he
am
done
being
for
the
the
real
town?
solicitor, and I'm trying to
You're not
have the
trying to do
rules.
nothing. You're listening to Paul like continue listening.
It's the law, Kim. It's the Sunshine Act.
The way.
Paula,
We didn't write it. The state of Pennsylvania wrote it.
Just break it, Paul.
what have you done?
Just break it, Paul.
Break it.
Just right, Paul.
What have you done, Mayor? I stopped you, stood out there in the cold with you. Make sure you got to the spot where you're going to be. Hoping you do the right thing, but it's like you're going in circles. Don't lie and say what's out there in the cold for you. Don't lie and say what's out there in the cold.
That's what you got for the
All right, come on.
Go ahead. I'll leave it
All
alone.
right, that's, come on.
Close the microphone.
Well, let's see what they come here for.
If you don't want to be a mayor, just step down. Just step down.
Tell her
You
to
can't
sit
take the
down.
pressure. Just step
All
down.
right, Kimberly, that's enough. Thank you. We got to move
What do
on.
you say? What do you say?
Any other public
Sit
comment?
down. All right, please.
You get upset. Man, just step down. That's all. Just step down. You didn't
All right.
do nothing.
Okay.
Let Rosnowski first still with his gun.
All right, let's move on. I want to read something here. Go ahead, Mr. Lindsay. Go ahead, sir.
I want to comment on motion 7 here to authorize the borough manager to terminate employees pending due process and meeting with employees. Can you explain how you do this process? I mean, how does that work there? I mean, do you have arbitration since there's union, or do you have borough managers or the managers of each department making these decisions? Or
I'll have to defer that to the solicitor. It's really actually a personnel matter.
can he answer it for me, please?
Well, you have there's a item on the agenda tonight to terminate personnel, so the council has the option whether to take that step or not, and then the employee can take whatever steps the employee wants to after that.
So you don't have a human resource department within yourselves here? Or you don't have nobody that's qualified to, say, maintain these employees? Or who's ever in charge of this department or different departments?
It's my job.
Do they have qualifications to run these departments?
Yes, I do.
Excuse me.
Yes, I do.
Please, let's just let them.
Let the man speak, please.
Okay, that's what I want to know. What is the process? Matter of fact, who's qualified to run these employees, for one?
Well, that's an opinion question. You can ask members of council, but the borough manager is the chief administrative officer. She runs the day-to-day affairs of the borough. The borough manager took action in terms of this one employee, and now that employee's action has been listed on the agenda for tonight for council to consider.
Okay. And it's up to the sole person making this decision is the borough manager.
Well, no, you have it on the agenda tonight for the borough council to make a
They've already
decision.
voted.
It's already voted on,
They
right?
already voted.
No, not yet, no.
It's not voted on, but it was not discussed with 3 council members. It was discussed with 4, but not the other 3.
I don't know what it- I don't know what it-
So
I don't know what
only
it
thing we
did.
know is
Or
what's
she
here
did.
on this piece of paper, but I'm sure the
And you
decision was
know, every
already
time we had a
made.
personnel meeting, you were
Well-
included, Paul, you knew everything that was going on.
Okay.
Why don't we know anything about this?
Paul,
Everybody
can
should
you
know.
answer that question? Because me being president, I didn't know anything. Maybe you
I'm only-
know something?
I'm only one council person, and I know what, you know what, I know what I see and what I'm
The
told.
question was, why
What?
is this on the agenda? And certain council members are not aware of what was on the agenda.
No, excuse me.
And this decision that was
Personnel.
made, some of council know that this person was written up and suspended. Why wasn't all of council informed? And the only way I knew was because the person called me and I came up to the borough. Why wasn't all of council notified of the suspension first?
Defer that to me. Defer that to
Can
me.
Paul answer the
Defer that to
question?
me.
I'll defer that to a closed door meeting in personnel with just council, that's all.
Okay.
That's all,
well,
that's all.
Okay.
So the question
If you
is
knew all-
about the why is all of council, why does it have to be discussed in an
No
executive session?
disrespect. Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
No disrespect. Okay? If the borough manager is responsible for these decisions, the final decision, what is in place to keep this from being a biased decision? What is in place to keep this from being a decision that can be made in light of maybe political opposition?
Well, there are certainly
Against the
laws
employee?
that protect employees, that if a decision's made for an improper purpose, that employee will be able to exercise his or her rights in
To
order
who?
to contest that.
To who?
To who?
Yeah,
To any number of agencies.
okay. Agencies. Okay. What about his shop stewards? Is he working in his best interest, or is he working under pressure?
Is the shop steward working in the
The
employee's
employee's
best
best
interest?
interest?
That's up to the shop steward.
Is it? You mean nobody on this council pressures him? Nobody pressures him?
I'm not aware of any pressure. Are you aware? I mean, can you state tonight
I'm
what
asking
pressure
you
there
the
is?
question. What do you have in place to keep this from happening? Because
there's-
Paula brings baggage from Darby.
Well,
I mean-
Well, I like to hear.
you have the
specific-
answer, sir. I mean, you've been given the answer. You may not like the answer, but that's the answer.
If you want me to answer that, it would have to come legally.
Well, Mr. Lindsay, I like to hear, myself, as a council person, I like to hear specifically from the certain employee before I make a decision what to do.
Have you talked to said employee?
I have talked to this employee, and I want to hear, and I want all council to hear his side of the story, his version, before any before any
Next council
decision.
meeting, you
Defer
want
that to me.
him to
Defer
state
to
his
me.
Any meeting, you know, before I make a decision.
Mr. Muser, may I have the floor?
Go ahead, Ms. Brown.
Mr. Lindsay,
Yes.
I am the direct supervisor of all the employees here with the exception of the police department. That's what I was hired to do.
Okay.
I have over 33 years of experience doing this with many, many more employees, okay? Several incidents have happened with a certain employee that have been documented, and the employee has been aware of this.
Yes.
Incidents occurred right in front of every single council member here who saw it. And were outside and saw things. So that employee was disciplined. This motion that's on the floor this evening, if you read it correctly, it says, motion to authorize the borough manager to terminate employee number 4 pending due process meeting with employee. And what that means in the corporate world and in the municipal world is council may or may not authorize me to terminate after a meeting happens with the employee.
Then why are you hiring?
Let me finish, please do not interrupt. The employee has the right to tell his side of the story. We have to hear from him. I am his direct supervisor.
Right.
He comes to me and probably the president of council and whoever else the president of council selects. He tells us what his side of the story is. And at that point, we document his answers and then we review the answers to the charges. If the answers, do not match up with the charges, then I'm authorized to terminate. If they do and council feels that he needs to come back, then he comes back. But that's what this is.
Okay, so
It's
council is actually-
authorizing me to terminate pending his due process. He is entitled to due process and he will get due process. Prior to this administration taking over in January, due process was never heard
You are a liar.
Employees
You are a
were
liar.
terminated at the drop of a dime, and that's why we had lawsuits. But this time, we are following employment law and affording him his due process. He will not be discriminated against, and there is nothing biased. He has the right to have the due process, and that's all that is. That's all it is.
Excuse me.
Okay, go on.
Excuse me. Yes, you say in the corporate world and due process.
And municipal world,
Well, the municipal world is a lot different than the corporate world. Because the
not
corporate
necessarily.
world, There's a human resource department, there's departments that handle these situations for you.
And that's what the borough manager's job is. The borough manager is the human resources department. No, I'm not biased. Okay, you answered this question. Okay.
About town, brother.
Freddie?
What are you talking, human reserve office? I'm just saying that's so ridiculous to think in a
She
4
should
block
not
town.
have the whole
That's-
I have 33 years of experience,
Yeah, I know, I
Martha.
right to Georgia, you know that.
No.
You don't have money to hire.
Freddie,
Come on, guys, come on.
Okay.
if you don't have money
We have
to
to get on
hire
with the
Freddie,
meeting.
then
It's
that's
now
not an excuse to fire a person. Just let him go on attrition alone.
Public comment.
Wow.
And in the
for
corporate world, which I've worked in for 18 years
Get
to
on with
manage
your,
employees, that's not how you go about it. Now, I'm not talking to you because you are a closet bigot, a closet racist, and you provoked this young man.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
So,
All right, Mr.
I'm
Lindsay,
not
I gotta
talking
move
to you.
on.
I'm talking to the borough president, which is speaking for all of y'all, which it just don't even sound right to yourself.
It's 8 o'clock.
But I reserve the right to speak on that fact.
Thank you, sir.
And if you continue to harass this man, violate his civil rights, and a couple other things. See, because you need to
8 o'clock
practice,
ball.
you need to study up on what you're saying to me. Because I've been in the corporate world for a long time, managing a lot of people in a lot of different states. So that bull crap you give me right now don't sit with me.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lindsay, appreciate it. I gotta move on. All right, I'm going to try to read this. This is under President's comments. Tonight, we will try to begin 2015 in an organized and professional manner. The format from the point on will be committee workshop session is scheduled prior to the council meeting. The committee chairs will give their reports and any public comment or question for an informal answer. If the answer cannot be given at the time, the committee chair will respond back to the residents within a reasonable time with an answer. Council may also question during the workshop session. The committee workshop session will be at least 45 to 55 minutes. All committees will submit their reports during this time. If any further discussion is needed, it will continue at the end of the council meeting after adjournment. We must stay on schedule. The council meeting will promptly begin at 7:30. No exceptions. During the council meeting, we will strictly enforce the rules for council meetings. The procedures were adopted at the September 11th, 2014 council meeting. All comments or questions must be addressed to the president only. No questions or comments may be addressed to individual council members. Discussion will take place prior to any motion that is on the floor. However, if the discussion or question is relevant to the motion on the floor, the discussion will end and the voting process will begin. You will be asked 2 times to cast your vote. If you do not cast your vote, it will be recorded as not voting. We must follow this adopted procedure in order to complete borough business.
Okay, this is going to the Attorney General.
Now we go to.
And I thank you.
Are
Now,
you not?
the next will be Solicitor's Report, Mr. John McBlain. Go ahead. Go ahead, John.
And number 2, on September 11th, I was president of council.
Patricia, you'll have time to comment.
These rules. So, who adopted the rules in September 2011?
You're out of order. Go ahead, John.
Motion to,
I've been out of order 10 times, and I don't think anybody's going to take me out of here. But I'm going to say again, Paul, you
Go
are
ahead.
violating people's rights when you tell them.
We're
they
not
cannot
violating
speak to
nobody's
the
rights.
council.
Go ahead, John. We have a lot to cover.
Distributed
And
to
on
the,
September
Really?
11th,
You got a long night ahead of you.
this was not adopted because I never signed the adoption.
Okay.
So who did? I want to see the signature.
the trash contract bids have been distributed to the proposed specifications have been distributed to council. If you have any comments or questions,
Yeah, why did they buy our fire truck? What was it given to them?
feedback, please let me know. I put on the front page there, or the second page, the proposed dates to advertise it, so please get back to me. I probably need your comments maybe at least about 3 days in advance of the advertising date before it's submitted to the Daily Times, so just let me know.
okay, that's good. Thank you. Let's get the contract.
We're still working on the Darby Creek Joint Authority settlement. I think we have some agreement regarding the what would be paid back over the different quarters. There were some differences or problems with the release language that was proposed by the attorney for the Darby Creek Joint Authority, and also a question regarding some requested interest. So I have talked to the attorney. He's going to go back to the solicitor for the board and the board members. But again, that's something I hope can be straightened out, where I can seek your approval of that agreement, perhaps at the February meeting. We do have time because the first proposed payment under that was proposed to be for the end of March, which would be with our regularly quarterly payment due at that point in time. So those are the 2 items I have to report on, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Solicitor. Can we have a motion to approve the solicitor's report?
I make that motion.
Second it. Roll call vote.
Mrs. Williams. Mrs. Van Auken.
No.
Mr. Muser.
Yes.
Mr. Brundage.
Yes.
Mrs. Mrs. McCarr's not here. Okay. Mr. Lesher.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-2.
Thank you. Next will be the engineer's report, Mr. Alex Rodriguez.
Okay, I'd like to just highlight a few items from my report for last month's activities. the 2015 CDBG application. We have that application preliminarily prepared, and it is for the construction of a pervious basketball court and for security fencing around a portion of the former swim club. The approximate numbers we have estimated right now is $81,545 for the project and approximately $9,000 of local contribution. That puts the project total at $90,545. Subject to change, we're going to try to fine tune the quantities tomorrow, and our goal is to try to get the application in by late tomorrow or early Monday.
Contribution from?
The 204 Walnut Street,